country's mainstream political parties to the side, okay? Now, this could be a unique situation. It already is. So we're live in Paris with the expectations of change. Political shakeup rocking France. Two outsider presidential candidates, Macron and Marine Le Pen, finish at the top of the country's most consequential election in recent history. That means you're going to have a runoff. And just hours after the election, Le Pen has launched the first campaign attack before the actual election. CNN's Hala Garani live in Paris. Certainly going to be blood sport over there. A lot of intensity on the table. How do you see it?
Well, these are two diametrically opposed candidates ideologically on either end of the spectrum. Marine Le Pen, anti-immigration, close the borders, fight radical Islamism, against Emmanuel Macron, proudly delivering a victory speech with an EU flag behind him. Marine Le Pen is a Eurosceptic. She's skeptical as well of NATO, against any kind of intervention in the Middle East. Emmanuel Macron on all those fronts, the exact opposite. So this is an ideological battle, but the results, as you mentioned, very, very significant, Chris. Why? Because Marine Le Pen came in second in the first round. They will both face off in the runoff, but the far-right National Front was not the first party of France yesterday in the vote on Sunday, and it's Emmanuel Macron, an unknown centrist, a man who a year ago was largely, essentially, not known to even the French public. He's come from nowhere. He's a 39-year-old. His supporters say he reminds us of Barack Obama. In fact, some of the same campaigning techniques were used in this campaign in France for Emmanuel Macron. So this is decisive not just for the country, it's decisive for Europe and the world, because if Emmanuel Macron wins in the second round, and he's widely expected to do so, this means that the EU stays intact after Brexit, that the Franco-German sort of European engine will remain, and that Europe is not necessarily threatened at this stage. In fact, markets in this part of the world have rallied today, Chris.
All right, Helen, how deep is the skepticism of those precepts that, we've seen a little bit of a quieting of this wave of nationalism, of extreme populism, but you never know what's going to happen. They were saying the same stuff before Brexit. Where do the French people feel in terms of where they are in the wave of change?
That's an excellent point, and that's, of course, something that many observers have brought up. Don't assume that the centrist politician is going to win. Why? Because Marine Le Pen got about 22% of the vote. But then there's also a left-wing populism in this country, in the person of a man named Jean-Luc Mélenchon, not a household name, granted, outside of this country, also a Eurosceptic. Together, 45% of the vote. There is a lot of anti-establishment fever in this country as well, even if the centrist came in first. Back to you.
Hala, thank you very much for all of that.